Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today in partnership with Loop and Veho. We're really excited to talk about a new partnership to deliver at-home return pickup experiences with you all today. My name is Samir Kamnani. I'm a product marketing manager here at Loop, and so that means I got to work very closely with our product team, our engineers, and very closely with our friends at Veho to bring this service to what it is today. We are currently offering at-home pickup returns as a part of a beta program, and we have a lot of interest and a wait list built, and we're really excited to keep adding to that. So with that being said, I have some amazing folks with me here on the line, and I want to give them the chance to introduce themselves. So first off, we have Hannah Bravo from Loop. Hey, Hannah.
Hey, Samir, and hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I am the COO here at Loop. For those who aren't already aware, Loop focuses on returns and exchanges for Shopify brands. So we're purpose-built for Shopify. And the reason we exist is really to help brands elevate their post-purchase experience and ultimately help them to drive customer lifetime value. And this partnership is yet another way that we will do that. So thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. And second, we have Nirant Gupta from Veho.
Yeah, thanks, Samir. Hi, everybody. My name's Nirant. I'm Director of Strategy here at Veho. You may not have heard of us, so let me quick introduction. So Veho offers premium last mile logistics services at a polite price. We started off focused really on the delivery side and made our name by offering industry-leading on-time delivery and customer satisfaction scores for our clients. In doing so, we proved that creating what we call magic moments for customers in last mile logistics increases customer loyalty, NPS, repurchase rate, a lot of really fantastic things. And because of our success and operational excellence, last year around this time, we raised about $300 million in capital from Series A and B rounds. With that funding and our geographic network and our sort of cultural focus on creating magic moments in logistics, we started to enter the return space with at-home return pickups, which we're excited to talk with you all today about. Happy to say we completed our 100,000th pickup just after Thanksgiving, and we're continuing to grow and scale the offering and are just super excited to be partnering with Loop on it.
That's awesome, and really stoked to have both of you here with me today. So for the audience, I will be moderating the discussion today, and feel free to use the chat for any questions. We'll definitely have time at the end to answer them. But with that being said, I want to have a conversation with both of you about some of these things that you described, what Loop and Veho do. So first off, Hannah, I want to pick your brain a little bit on, so Loop offers a post-purchase software to help Shopify brands optimize their return experiences, as you said. Could you tell us a bit more about why investing in post-purchase is even something that matters today, and especially given today's market and the economic climate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head on the last part, which is that it's maybe even more important now than ever, given what's happening in the environment. And I guess I would start by just saying profitability is really key right now. And if you're on this webinar and you're an operator of a brand, that's not news to you. You came here to learn something new today, so I won't spend too much time there. But in your circles with other e-commerce operators, I'm sure that it has come up not just once that you're either trying to improve your profitability or you're trying to accelerate the path to it. And the reason why post-purchase is so important is because that actually provides opportunities to do exactly that. And it can come in the form of improving top-line results or reducing expenses. So, some of the clear ways that the post-purchase experience can reduce expenses is reducing return rates. That actually creates a better experience for the customer because they don't want to have to return something. They want to find something the first time that suits them. And it obviously benefits a brand's P&L for obvious reasons because returns do cost brands money. Another clear one is reducing unit costs on returns. And a particularly relevant one for today's webinar is shipping rates. So if you can change what you're spending on a return shipping rate, each return at a time, that can make a pretty significant impact. And then the other is improving top line. And what we know from being in this business for as long as we have is that the post-purchase experience actually has dramatic impact on your ability to return customers. So we'll talk a little bit later about the concept of retaining revenue, but actually retaining customers. And all of you know that that customer acquisition costs are certainly not dropping, or we don't see any sign of that. And so one clear way to improve your profitability is to improve your retention rate. And a way to do that is to invest in post-purchase. From a consumer experience, and you can see some data points here that sort of support this, but we're all consumers in one way or another. We know when we buy something online and we don't get what we want, like there's a feeling of disappointment, and how a brand deals with that is really critical to whether or not they'll have a long-term relationship with the customer. And so here are some pretty staggering stats. The first is 65% of customers say they are likely to churn from a brand after they have a bad return experience. And then on the positive side, if they have a great return experience, because customers understand that they won't get what they need the first time every time, if you really take advantage of that opportunity and give them a great experience, 84% of them say they're actually likely to come back and buy from you again. So really that sort of make or break moment is a huge opportunity for brands to retain customers for the long haul.
Thanks, Hannah. That's really insightful. And it's clearly very important for brands to look at how they're handling returns and make it frictionless. So you mentioned Loop really helps with reducing return rates, reducing return costs in today's climate, and what we're seeing on the screen about improving lifetime value with customers and repeat purchase rates. But I know that Loop takes that a bit of a step further, right? And we also try to not only just make the return a good experience and leave the customer happy and get them to come back, but we also try to save the sale in the actual moment of the return. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I think I can actually kind of build off of where we left off before. So that make or break moment for the customer when they've decided, okay, the thing I got is not a thing I can keep for one reason or another. They have not made any decision about your brand. They've just decided the product they have is not going to work. And that's really that moment that Loop continues to innovate in with our R&D investment, is that moment when the customer's like, okay, I'm going to return the thing, but I don't know yet what I'm going to do about it. And there are a variety of what we would call outcomes that can happen. So the most common is a refund. The customer's just like, okay, this isn't going to work. I just want my money back and I'm going to move on with my life and maybe spend it with another brand. That, we spend all of our waking hours at Loop thinking about how to reduce the likelihood of that being the outcome for a brand and for the customer, because it's honestly not good for either. The customer leaves disappointed that they spent the time and the original money on the purchase, and they end up not having something that they love. And then as a brand, you've lost that sale. So yeah, we really think about that experience, that save the sale experience, as taking that moment, the customers decided to return, and getting as many of those customers to decide to either exchange for a different product at that same retailer or exchange for store credit. And, once they have time to really reflect on what else they might be able to find with you, they do that. So the way that some of the ways that we've continued to innovate in that particular make or break moment, we have what we call a shop now experience. Really gives the customer an opportunity to see the full catalog of a brand and even be incentivized by the brand in that moment to choose to take a look around. So maybe a brand might offer you $15 extra of what we call bonus credit to really encourage you to take a look to see what else you might find that you could love. We have an instant exchange experience where you can basically get your exchange right then and there and not have to wait until you get around to dropping your return off at the carrier. And then we also are testing some new opportunities in what we call shop later, which is really we know customers are pressed for time, right? Like we all have really busy schedules. Maybe when you decide to do the return, you're doing a million other things and you're like, okay, I'm just going to get a refund. But maybe 2 days later, when that return's still sitting on your front seat, you might have time to take a look and see if you can find something else that you love. So we're really working to get the customer to reconsider buying with your brand again. Just a couple of the ways that we innovate in that space, but we actually just finished last week a study with our data team on the isolated impact of some of those innovative features. And it was staggering to me, like, of course, the revenue retention, so you're keeping more dollars in your business. But what was more eye-opening to me was the impact it has on actual customer behavior. Like once they have those experiences that are positive, they are going to spend more with you and come back faster. And that really has a huge impact on your bottom line.
Awesome. That's really great. And yeah, Loop is doing some awesome stuff with new innovative features. And like you said, really driving the retention. And so it sounds like Loop software definitely helps optimize their online return experience and really turn returns from a cost center into a new sales channel.
Absolutely.
But that being said, one thing you mentioned of like the return sitting on your front seat for 2 days, as we know, software is great, but returns are a physical game too. And I have many stories of waiting to go drop off my return or just like, yeah, not wanting to drive to the USPS. And I'm sure some people in the audience can relate as well. So, Naran, I kind of want to flip the script and turn it to you now. How could you describe what that typical physical return experience is dropping off at a carrier and why it can be improved?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we probably are all e-commerce customers. We've probably gone through the pattern of, let me find a box and tape it, and now I'm gonna go stand in line for 10 minutes or 20 minutes at the post office. It's a lot of it is a pain. We've done a bunch of customer research in returns and around the customer experience, and from survey work that we've done, we see that about a quarter of customers think they're having actually a pretty excellent return experience dropping off in the store or sending the return back through UPS. Which of course means that 3/4 are not having an excellent experience. The way that we think about return friction, we categorize it broadly into two different buckets. So one is what we call arts and crafts friction. So that's, let me get a box, let me have a printer, let me hope that it's working, let me hope that my toner hasn't run dry, let me print the thing, get the packing tape, affix the label, all that kind of stuff. And the second bucket is around time and stress friction. So, that's okay, how do I fit this into my busy workday? The post office is only open till 5. I work until 5. How am I going to make that work? And I think, over the last 100,000 pickups that we've done, we've shown that when we remove those types of friction from customers in the returns process, they are willing to pay for it. They're, those things are so onerous, they're willing to pay to get out of it. And the second is that those customers are actually more loyal and likely to shop with that merchant again.
That's awesome, Nara. And I know we've talked a lot about like a good analogy of it's like when you're shopping and you get the option of ground shipping versus 2-day shipping. You can get the free option or you can pay a little more. And it's very similar to that, what you mentioned of consumers are willing to pay for this, for that added convenience of I just get to still sit on my couch. So it is really exciting.
Definitely. Yeah. A doorstep pickup is probably not right for everybody, and that's okay. We're trying to customize and personalize returns experiences and physical logistics experiences for customers. So for me, if I work in an office and there's a UPS store in the basement of the office, I probably don't need to do a home return pickup. It's easy enough for me. There are a significant number of customers, though, for whom it is not an easy experience. And the question then is, how can merchants really unlock and make those customers' lives easier so they're more loyal and more likely to shop with you again in the future?
Definitely. And that's a really important point. It's really about the choice and the optionality of not making home pickups your only return experience, but giving shoppers that option. And again, if it's something they're willing to pay for, it's kind of like why wouldn't I? And that's exactly why Loop and Veho partnered together, right? We're trying to marry the best digital return experience with this seamless pickup experience. And so, Narat, could you talk to us a little bit about what Veho was doing in the return space you mentioned kind of before we got to Loop and this partnership?
Yeah, I think, again, we're a last mile delivery company at the start. So our job is to take packages and put it on your door when you want it, on time, with excellent customer satisfaction. We make sure to follow the instructions of our customers. And in that process of building what is both a successful logistics business as well as an amazing customer experience, if we're putting packages on the door, why don't we take the ones away that customers want to send back to merchants and provide them an easier way? And I think that's how we really started to approach it, with a very customer-centric view of what is a phenomenal returns experience. And I think why Veho is excited to work with Loop. I think we view the returns world and the future of returns very similarly. I think there's maybe some of the old guard or legacy players with maybe some legacy thinking who are trying to make returns intentionally harder for customers and introducing all sorts of intentional friction into the process to make it feel painful or onerous to go through to actually fulfill and submit a return. But I think we believe and have proven through our business and our operations that exceptional returns experiences help create exceptionally loyal customers, and that removing that friction while controlling costs is a future that both customers and merchants can get behind. And so, Samir, the data on the page, we've done a lot of quantitative research around this, including with survey and observed data. On the survey side, we asked a bunch of people who've tried Veho home pickups, if all else is equal, how much more likely are you to shop at a merchant who offers Veho home pickups versus one who does not? And after the customer experiences Veho home pickups, almost 80% are saying that they would be more likely to shop with a brand who offers it, including almost 50% who say that they would be extremely more likely to do so. The number all the way on the right is, I think, really exciting for us as well. There are some clients for whom we do both their deliveries and their returns. And so we can actually see in our natural data, the true transactional data, what some of the impact might be. And we see that for the doorsteps where we pick up returns from, not just deliver packages, versus the addresses where we don't, the addresses where we do the pickups are dramatically more likely to shop and shop more from the brands than the ones for whom that we're not doing those pickup returns for. So it's really creating this full cycle logistics offering, but specifically focused on an exceptional returns experience that feels like, I said earlier, feels like we're creating magic moments for customers.
Definitely, and I love that phrase, magic moments. I'm glad you brought it out. So the numbers we're seeing on the screen are amazing, and this was definitely some of the really enticing things that brought this partnership together and why Loop and Veho decided like this was going to be a great experience to work on together. So that being said, Hannah, bringing Loop and Veho together, we've talked a bit about both individually. Bringing them together, do you mind walking us through these high-level benefits of that joint experience?
Yeah, of course. I thought I just wanted to comment on the previous slide, Nirant, the like 78% of customers who are more likely to buy if Veho is an option. I've been thinking a lot lately about like the return page that a brand has on their site. And we see like literally every year, it feels like a new study that's like, it was like 60% of customers visit that page before they buy. And then it was 70, and then it was 80, and then it was 90. And it feels like it's just moving up and up. And so if you think about that as a marketing opportunity and Veho, of an option like Veho being part of what a customer sees right away of like, oh, hey, my options are broad and super convenient even before buying. And then, of course, with repeat purchases, I think there's a lot there. So thanks for sharing that. So the benefits of our partnership, I think Nirant said it best that customers want to be able to choose, and the right option for each customer looks different. And so Loop, as you heard me talk about before, really spends all of our time building for the digital side of the experience. And then we partner on the physical side with sort of the best in the game. And Veho is now part of that, broad spectrum of partnerships that we enable for brands so that they can make the optionality for their customers really, really broad. And so, when we think about the benefits of this partnership, I think the first we've talked quite a bit about now is the customer experience, the convenience of it. So we are all consumers, and like, I don't have a printer. I think with the move to work from home, it's even harder because like how many of us before were like, yeah, well, I'll go to work and I'll print the label there and I'll use my mailroom at work to get my return shipped out. No longer an option. So I think can't really beat printerless and packageless right from your doorstep. And then, of course, we have the data now that tells us and supports that there's a proven increase in customer retention and their likelihood to repeat purchase if you provide this really great experience for them. Speed to resale is actually a big one. If you think about like having that package sit on your front seat of your car like I do for 2 weeks, that time is basically eliminated entirely because you just put it on your front porch when as soon as you know that you're ready to return it. And then the last, and certainly not least in today's environment, is like you don't have to change your operations because Veho's using carrier networks that already exist. So all of your existing processes will work exactly the same way. And then maybe the last point I'll make is that we know in today's environment, even if you're excited about a new offering that you hear about as a brand, if you know that you're going to have to spend more to offer that to your customers, it becomes a much harder decision. And I think what we know is that customers are actually willing to cover what the cost is for that. And even in some cases, maybe more than that. And I think Samir, maybe you'll tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, definitely. So that's actually a great bridge into this next slide. So we have 2 merchants that are live with this Loop and Veho partnership in beta right now, and they wanted to share a bit about what they've seen so far and the experience they've had. So first off, at the top, 10,000, which sells athletic apparel, said that the setup process with Veho was super easy, especially with Loop's team to help along the way, and we're very excited to be able to offer an easy package-free return option. So this speaks to the operational changes that Hannah was describing, or the fact that there are no operational changes. It really is a seamless process to get onboarded to, and it's not going to take a lot of changes with your warehouse or your 3PL. It's essentially, from the brand's perspective, you're still getting the package back as if you would have from the consumer. Basically, all the home pickup experience does is take away that friction from the shopper themselves, so they don't have to package it up or label it up and send it to a USPS or FedEx or anything like that. Essentially, they just need to put it on their doorstep and Veho will take care of the rest. But again, you as a brand will be getting the return package as you normally would or what you're used to. And then we have Lou Guitars, who they sell children's guitars. And so Veho at-home pickup service has been a great addition to our returns offering. We've had about 41% adoption rate, which is significantly higher than what I would have expected for this initial period. And now you might be a little confused why that's saying 41 and there's a big 16 on the side up there. So, and this really speaks to what Hannah was saying about the cost, and that this really doesn't need to cost you anything because consumers are willing to pay for a convenience like this. And that being said, you can even get creative with how you present that cost and what exactly you charge. So in this context, the 41% adoption rate you're seeing from Lou Guitars is they are essentially charging the break-even cost on the pickup. They're charging the shopper exactly what Veho is requiring from them per pickup. And so there's no cost there. They're not making any money, but as you can see, they have a very high adoption rate and are very happy with the service, and their shoppers are very happy. The 16, and what's kind of bringing that adoption rate down is when some merchants are and some brands are getting creative where they're actually charging more than the Veho pickup cost to the shoppers. And so obviously that would take a hit with adoption rate, but now this isn't only a break even, provide a good experience, this is now a profit. And so it's really exciting. And again, brands can customize how they want to do that. If a brand doesn't want to charge the shopper, you can do that. You might see like 80% adoption, who knows, we'll check it out. But to that point, it's fully up to you in how you customize it. Awesome. So with that said, I want to talk about a bit of how it works and the actual experience. All right, so actually before I get into the home pickup scheduling in the Loop flow and how that works, I first want to just describe for anyone on the call that may not be as familiar with Loop, essentially to start the return, the shopper would start that in your returns portal powered by Loop. It would be assumably linked on your website or in your return policy, and they would be able to go through the seamless process of initiating the return, being incentivized to make an exchange instead of a refund, and some of those really exciting features that Hannah had talked about earlier. Once they are done with kind of that part of the return, they've already decided what they're returning, what they want to get back, if anything, if they want to refund, store credit, exchange, etc. At that point, they'll get to a screen called what we call at Loop, like the return method selection. And as you can see on that first screen on the left there, this is where the shopper will have a choice between an at-home pickup, a regular box and ship return is what we call, standard package it yourself, print the label, drop it off at a carrier, or any other options that you enable through Loop. And so that being said, go ahead and ignore that $5 cost you might be seeing on the screen. As we talked about cost earlier, it's fully customizable, and you can really think of it as again, the example or the analogy with the ground shipping and a 2-day shipping, one is free and one is a bit more for an added convenience. Once the shopper actually selects that home pickup option, they'll be prompted to select the pickup date, and they can schedule for up to 7 days out. And so this really ties in with what Hannah was saying about the speed to resale. Normally, if I submit a return, I'm not probably going to go to the USPS within a week, let alone I have a month to drop off the return, I think, so I might wait till the last day. But with a pickup, not only are we limiting them to schedule only up to 7 days out, but also there's nothing really for me to do if I was returning an item. All I have to do is set it on my doorstep. So why wouldn't I just do it for like the next day or the next available time I can? And the shopper also doesn't need to necessarily be home for their pickup. So again, they can schedule it if they have to go into the office, whatever, that's totally fine. And then lastly, you can see on the right side, there's some additional info such as phone number, pickup option, and special instructions. And that's where you can leave things like a gate code or anything that the driver that's picking up your item would need to know. And it's similar to what you can think of like if you're ordering an Uber Eats or a Postmates or anything like that, the experience of where do you want to meet the driver? Do you want to actually hand it off to them? Do you want to just leave it at the door and let them handle it? The shopper is able to input that instruction. At that point, the shopper has completed the flow on the loop side of things, and the experience shifts to a text between Veho and the shopper. And it is a two-way texting, meaning the shopper can actually respond to the Veho driver. Let's say if the shopper needs to reschedule or cancel their pickup for whatever reason, they can do that directly via this text channel. And Veho will send live updates of where they're at when they're on the way, some pickup windows, and a confirmation when it is picked up. So that's really helpful for, again, if the shopper isn't actually home when they schedule the pickup, it's nice to get that peace of mind of, okay, they got it. It wasn't stolen, like the driver said they got it. And so again, the peace of mind there. And lastly, once it is picked up, again, speaking to the no operational changes, it's going to seem like it was coming from the shopper themselves by the time it gets to you, because Veho will then package the item at their regional facility. They will print and affix the label, and they will send it through your carrier. So you can think of this in the loop flow if you're familiar with it. Instead of sending the label to the shopper, we just send it directly to Veho instead, and they'll get that label, and the shopper is essentially told, hey, don't worry about it. You just need to set your items on your doorstep. Cool. So with that being said, we've talked a little bit about how this is a really exciting feature that's in beta today. It's currently available by a waitlist. So that waitlist is available now to current and future Loop merchants, and Veho is currently live in 20 plus major US metros, and they're looking to expand and add more. So we're really excited to see that grow in 2023. As a Loop merchant, to offer this value-added service, you would need to sign an additional non-binding contract with Veho, and that's really the only step. After that point, you would join our waitlist for the beta, and again, it's a waitlist, so we would see when we're able to onboard and get everyone live, and it's gaining a lot of excitement, and we're really excited to have all of you here today to add to that, so jump on it. And that being said, once you're ready to go then, again, it's really about delivering this frictionless return experience with no change to your costs if you charge your shoppers for the pickup fee, and it's no change to your warehouse operation. So there really, really are not many hoops to jump through to offer a great return experience like this, and something that we like to call, the future of returns, and just making this whole experience a lot better for both brands and the shoppers. And so that's essentially all we have to present to you all today. We definitely have a lot of time for questions, but thanks so much, Hannah and Narant, for being here, and I might tag you in on some questions as well. Awesome. So we actually had a few questions submitted to us beforehand, so we'll take a look at those first. One is, would the service only be available to single family homes? And the answer is no. Veho offers the service for essentially any address in their territories that they're live, and that includes apartment buildings, commercial buildings, college dorms, things like that. So even we've given the example of like, if you have to go in the office and you could just set it still on your porch, let's say you do still kind of want to hold on to your item, you can have Veho pick it up from your office instead, and then do a direct handoff to the driver. It's totally up to the shopper how they want to do that. Awesome. Another one is a photo taken of the package at the time of pickup? Is there a merchant doing this? Currently, right now, there is not a photo taken of the package at pickup, and this is kind of because Veho hires their drivers through the gig economy, similar to like an Uber or Lyft, and it's not exactly a good experience for a shopper to see like I say a random person. They're obviously hired by Veho, but like again, it's through the gig economy, so the shopper might see someone on their porch as like a random person. And so we like to make it just they're there to do what they came to do, pick up the item, and that's it. They don't do any sort of inspection or picture at this time, but it is something that Veho is considering for next year. I think we have a couple more questions coming through the chat, some a bit more specific to that Narant could answer, but Hannah, is he frozen for you too?
No.
Oh,
What did you say?
he's frozen for me.
No.
Okay, so maybe I'll just throw some his way. Awesome. Cool. Another great one is how many extra days does this add to return shipping time approximately compared to customers dropping it off at the carrier themselves? So it should add no extra time. And in fact, as we've said, it should save time when you think about the fact that most consumers are not submitting their return and within the next 24 hours going to a USPS or a FedEx. It's often something they're sitting on for at least a few days. I would say the average is around 4 days. But I know myself, like, I guess I'm a bit of a lazier shopper. Like I will wait 2 weeks or just whenever I'm driving by a FedEx or something and it happens to work out. But so in that case, Veho actually could speed up that process, and 80% of pickups through Veho so far are scheduled within 2 days of the return submission. So that's a really solid metric to keep in mind. And after Veho has it in their possession, it takes about 24 to 48 business hours for them to get it off to the carrier to send back to you. Awesome. Scrolling through the chat for some more questions.
I think one easy one, Samir, can I jump in?
Yeah, go
for it.
What
What I
it.
saw in the chat was from Erica, wondering if it was only if you provide store credit on the return. The answer is no. It's for all outcomes. What I don't know, Erica, is if you were specifically asking about if the data that we were showing from the beta merchants was store credit outcomes, but I'm pretty confident saying that those brands do not only offer store credit. So yeah, that's the answer, is you can offer Veho on any outcome, refund, exchange, or store credit.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. And I'm seeing a few more good ones to answer. If you charge for this service, how do you initialize the payment, i.e. through Stripe? Yes. So essentially, if the cost of the pickup is covered by the refund, then it would just be a simple deduction from the refund and you wouldn't need to use Stripe for an additional charge. However, if the consumer or if the shopper is exchanging and therefore doesn't really have credit to be pulled from to pay for the pickup, then it would use a Stripe payment. And another one is, how does Veho manage porch pirates? Okay, I think Neuron's still close. Okay, yeah. I can hear you, but you're frozen for me, so go for it.
Sorry, yeah, no, hopefully I'm not frozen for other folks. If I am, let me know. Yeah, it's a great question. There's a couple ways. One is that customers on the Loop portal can give pickup instructions to the driver. So for example, at my house, I've said, hey, this is on my front porch behind the pillar. You know, I kind of put it right up against the pillar, so it's not visible from the street, but it is if you were on my porch. And so then the driver knows they have those instructions. We follow them really, really well. And so you're able to go and pick up the return. The second option is, aside from leaving it on your doorstep, you can also schedule a direct handoff with your driver. And we give customers like pickup time windows for when we expect to be there. And then we give them also like a, we're 30 minutes away kind of heads up text when they're one of the next stops. And so those two ways are sort of how we combat it. I also see there's some questions here about insurance and what happens if it gets lost in transit, things like that. We have standard carrier liability insurance, so we'll pay out $100 a claim per lost item. We have a very low lost item rate. I think it's like in the point, like less than 1%. So it's not really something that we observe as a problem, but we do have that insurance to make sure that if we do misplace something or if something goes missing, we're able to make those merchants whole.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Narat. I'm seeing a few more good ones to call out. One about the territories and if this is offered internationally at all or anything like that. I'm going to pull up the current regional availability. This is where Veho currently operates and has live markets. But as I mentioned a bit earlier, Veho's looking to expand this. In terms of internationally, Narat, I'll defer that to you, but I believe the focus right now is expanding the US, correct?
Yep, that's right. So we're really just in the United States right now. We hope to expand internationally soon, but just in the contiguous United States.
Awesome. And another great one for you, Narat, that might get you excited is what about rental return models? We expect nearly 100% returns on our package. However, people are exchanging their rentals, not expecting any money back. Do you support this? And I think this ties in great with what you were seeing with Rent the Runway, right?
Yeah. So we absolutely support it. It's a great use case, and one of the reasons we're so excited about it is there's models like rental subscription models that are a much more circular economy in nature and help create a more sustainable future for commerce. And so we definitely support it. The way that payments work that's something we'd have to figure out. So typically with those types of clients, or with many Loop clients, the customer fee is deducted from the refund. So if it's a rental model, there's not a refund to deduct from, in which case there's two ways payments can be made. The first is if the merchant covers the cost directly. The second is if the customer opts into a surcharge, in which case I imagine it would work very similarly to how Samir was saying, if you have an uneven exchange and there's a supplemental Stripe fee that a customer would have to agree to. But we definitely support rental models.
Awesome. Another good one is how fast do the customers get their money back? The scan by the carrier, and that's traditionally what we do with normal returns as well with drop off at carrier. So at that point, the customer would get their money back. We are working on potentially being able to trigger the refund at the pickup instead. That's currently work in progress, and we're hoping to do that. Awesome. I think we've covered a good amount, and we'll definitely follow up on any questions not covered after the webinar. Hannah or Narat, is there anything you'd like to add before we close off? Awesome.
I just, thanks, Samir and Loop. It's been really exciting, and I think, one of the cool things working in technology and logistics is we get to see the future a little bit before it's here. We'll send the coverage map, but if anybody lives in a market where this is offered, I encourage you to give it a try. It feels like it's been a minute since something in physical logistics made me say, whoa, that was really, really cool. This is one of those things. And so, let us know how we can help and work with you on the returns and customer experience.
Awesome. Love it. And actually, I just saw another question that was re-pinged about the Happy Returns integration. We were just offered that as an option for return method. Could these work together? So this really goes back to what we were saying about optionality in giving your shoppers a choice. So like Narant was saying, if you have a UPS in the basement of your office building, you don't need a home pickup. You could do what's easy for you. And so in the screenshots you were seeing earlier, the two options we presented were the Veho at home pickup and the regular box and ship. If you enabled other experiences like the Happy Returns integration where shoppers can drop off also box free, label free at a return bar to be consolidated and then sent back to you in a larger shipment as opposed to one-to-one. That is another option that you can offer, and then you're just offering your shoppers multiple ways to send their return back and giving them again the best experience that they want, and letting them choose that. Awesome. Cool. With that being said, I think that wraps us up, and we'll be able to follow up on any other questions after the webinar. But thank you all for joining us today. And I'll go ahead and bring back this screen in case anyone wants to scan the QR code. But yeah, we're really excited about this and excited for more brands to join the waitlist and go live with this soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Cheers.